Welcome! As a professional archivist, I see it all the time, a whole lifetime of memories, photos, history, just sitting there in a shoebox. So in this explainer, I'm going to walk you through the proper way to turn that box into a digital legacy that's going to last for generations to come.
Okay, let's just dive right in. We all have that box, right? But the real question is, how do you get what's inside out and do it safely and accurately? See, this isn't just about making a few quick scans. This is about building a permanent archive. And that process, well, it starts long before you even think about turning on a camera.
The first rule in any archival work, the absolute #1 rule, is do no harm. So before we even dream of capturing an image, we have to stabilize the original physical items. This foundation is, without a doubt, the most critical part of the entire thing.
Oh man, those old magnetic albums from the 70s and 80s, a lot of us have photos trapped in them. That sticky backing is super acidic, and it's literally destroying the photos over time. The professional way to get them out is all about patience. You gently, and I mean gently, lift a corner, slide some unwaxed dental floss underneath, and then just use this gentle little sawing motion. It's slow for sure, but it's the safest way to avoid tearing everything.
Now this is interesting, because it goes against what a lot of people assume. Gloves aren't always the answer. For things like film negatives or modern glossy prints, yeah, nitrile gloves are a must to prevent fingerprints. But for that old, really brittle paper, you actually lose that delicate sense of touch, and you're more likely to rip the very thing you're trying to save. In that case, what a pro would use is just very clean, very dry hands.
All right, so now that our originals are safe and stable, we can finally move on to the capture stage. This is where we create what's called a digital negative. And we're not using some scanner here. We're using a high-resolution camera mounted on a copy stand. This gives us total control over the light, the color, and the focus.
You know, a really common mistake is thinking more megapixels is always better. It's just not true. Every single type of physical media, whether it's a film negative or a paper print, has what we call a point of diminishing returns. That's the exact point where your super fancy, high-resolution camera stops capturing more detail from the photograph and starts capturing the texture of the paper itself. We're just making the film grain bigger.
And this chart illustrates that perfectly. Just look at the difference. For a standard 35mm negative, somewhere between 24 and 45 megapixels is the sweet spot. But for a big 8x10 print, 24 megapixels is often plenty to grab all the detail that's even there. And then you flip it. For a teeny tiny 110 sub-miniature negative, you actually want all the resolution you can get just to make a decent-sized image. It's all about matching the tool to the source.
So, the raw capture from the camera? That's not the end product. Nope, that's just the raw data. The real magic, the archival accuracy, that happens when we develop this data into our digital master file. This is our digital darkroom.
I've got to be honest with you about something. Your monitor, it's lying to you. I'm serious. Straight out of the box, every single screen shows color a little bit differently. So if you try to correct the color of a photo on a screen that isn't calibrated, you're just guessing. You might be fixing a problem that only exists on your monitor, not in the actual file.
To see the real colors in your file, you have to create a controlled environment. And that means using a hardware device, something like a Calibrite or a Spider, to profile your monitor. It also means setting your desktop background to a neutral gray, so your eyes aren't tricked by other colors. And you gotta work in a room with controlled, neutral light. This is how archives make sure color is dead-on accurate.
Now, when you're working with film negatives, the trickiest part is turning that orange mask into a beautiful, full-color image. It's a specialized science. Thankfully, there are some incredible tools designed just for this. Whether it's a pro plugin for Lightroom like Negative Lab Pro or a powerful open-source tool like NegoDoctor, these things are built to interpret that color data way more accurately than trying to do it by hand.
You know, an image without context is, well, it's just data. It might be a pretty picture, but it's not a memory. This next stage is maybe the most important of all, adding that irreplaceable human story back into the files.
We can actually use today's technology to solve yesterday's mysteries. Once you've got the images digitized, you can create private online galleries and share them with your family. Use the facial recognition that's built into a lot of programs to group together photos of unknown people, and then show those groups to your oldest relatives. You will be absolutely amazed at the names and stories that come pouring out. This information is priceless, and frankly, it's perishable.
But why not take it one step further? The next time you sit down with your grandmother, put the photos up on a screen in front of her and just hit record on a simple audio recorder. As she talks about the people, the places, the memories, you're capturing an oral history. You can then link that audio file right into the image's metadata. This preserves not just what they looked like, but who they were, in their own voice.
Okay, so what do we got? High-quality, color-accurate master files. They're filled with names and stories, and the archive is created and backed up. So, now what? How do we make sure it actually lives on and gets enjoyed by future generations?
Honestly, one of the best ways to share this archive is to bring it back into the physical world. You can make brand new prints that'll last for 100 years, maybe more. A modern archival inkjet print on nice cotton paper gives you incredible color, and the traditional silver halide print from a pro lab, well, it has this amazing depth and durability. Both are just fantastic options.
But don't just stop with a folder full of files. The final step is to become a storyteller. Curate the very best images and put them into a beautiful photo book. It turns a data archive into a family story that you can actually hold in your hands. And hey, don't forget that Shoebox probably had more than just photos. There might be old camcorder tapes, maybe some audio cassettes. Those are part of the story too. And really, this is what it's all about. This whole technical process, the copy stands, the color calibration, the metadata, it all serves one single purpose. It serves the human stories. The photographs themselves, they're just the key that unlocks the memories.
So this brings me to a crucial final point. Your archive has to be inheritable. Make sure your 3-2-1 backup system is solid, but also you need to use the legacy contact features that companies like Apple and Google now offer. Appoint someone who can access your accounts when you're gone, because a perfectly preserved archive on a locked account, it's no different than a lost shoebox.
And that's really the final question you have to ask yourself. You've done all this work to preserve the legacy, but have you done the work to make sure it can actually be passed on? Answering that question, well, that's what turns this from a personal project into a true family legacy.